Hey guys, Kimber here, lead designer at Canva Design. And today we're talking about how to turn your daydream into a reality, how to turn that Pinterest board into a remodel project and finally get that project off the ground. So, every project, no matter how big or small, starts with the same 3 steps. It's really simple. It's not very easy. If you're ready to do the work though, and you're ready to finally take these steps to get your project off the ground, then we can help you get those wheels in motion. So same 3 steps. Step 1 is define the scope. So it's not enough just to say, hey, I need more space, and then, start calling builders and ask them what you should do. So it really helps to figure out what that looks like for you. So you need more space. Is it, your kids are all on top of each other in the mornings trying to get ready for school because you just don't have enough bathrooms? Is it as simple as adding a bathroom? Or is it that you have a college kid home and she's trying to get ready for school and, live her life at the same time as your younger kids getting ready for their classes? Does need more space mean that she, needs her own private master suite? She can take over your existing master suite, or maybe you can build a new and nicer, better one over your garage or something like that. Just figure out what the real pain point is. Live through a week or a weekend in your house, figure out where those pinch points are, where you start to get really frustrated or your family starts to get frustrated or fights for space, and figure out what the real issue is behind that frustration. And then think through some potential ways that you could solve that problem. So, again, is it as simple as just carving space to add a new bathroom, or is it, having your kid take over your master suite so you can add a new one? Is it just converting the basement so you've got extra, hangout space for your kiddos? Really kind of think through what the end goal is and how you can really solve the problem that's, causing all of that frustration. And then you need to narrow it down. So I've never met any homeowner, no matter how big or small the project was, that has quite enough budget to cover everything that they wanted to do in the house. There's always more wants than there is money. So it's just kind of a reality of the remodel process. So it really helps to sit down and really think through exactly what has to get done to meet that end goal. So you decide that needing more space just means, you've got a passel of kids and they all need to, go hang out with their friends in the evenings. And so converting the basement is enough to give them the space that they need. So, think through what the priorities and the preferences are. So the priority is we need to get this space converted downstairs so we can, make it warm and cozy and give them a place to hang out. So the goal is to get that space. Maybe you'd also love to add an extra bedroom down there and a bathroom just so they don't ever have to come up. They can do sleepovers. If it is a college kid, that they've got then their own, their whole space downstairs where they can live their own life and have more privacy. Maybe there's a lot of extra that would really be nice to get done, but it really helps to make a list of really number one goal is we have to get that hangout space down there. Bedroom and bathroom would be nice depending on the budget. So it helps to separate that out and to understand, what the end goal is and what the minimum necessary, the minimum that's needed to meet that goal. And then separate out the stuff that would also be done if budget allows and time allows. And when the going gets tough, it's really nice to have thought about it ahead of time that, okay, we're still meeting the end goal. And if your designer and your builder offer some suggestions to reduce the budget, if budget comes back too high, and you've already thought through and you understood ahead of time that this could happen. And so, we're still going to be okay. We're going to move forward with the project, if this is all we can do. Or if really having that, hangout space and the bedroom and the bathroom downstairs is necessary, and that's the only way to really meet the goal, then you know that going in. And so you'll know if that budget does come back too high that maybe, today is just not the time to do the remodel. Maybe we push it to next summer when we've had some more time to build equity or save. It just gives you some power going into the project, where you don't make gut reaction, responses when things get tough. So, the next way to define that scope is to, first of all, just write it all down, write through your end goal, write through, kind of some of those potential solutions. We think converting the basement will work. If you do have space available upstairs or over the garage or something like that, maybe that's an option. Maybe converting the garage is an option. And then also think through some options that definitely won't work. If your backyard is small and you still have, kids or pets that need to use that space, and an addition out the back of the house just definitely won't work for your family, write that down, make it clear that you've thought through that solution and it's just not going to work for your family. or maybe you really don't want to add a second floor because you don't want to change the look of the house from the front. So it's either convert the basement or you don't do the project because you also don't want to convert the garage. So just think through ideas for what will work, what won't work. It'll save you some time in the design stage and even when the builder's looking at it with you. It'll save design dollars when everybody knows the no-go solution, so they don't spend time putting it together and showing it to you as an option. So yeah, but once you've thought through the big picture and kind of what those real final end goals are, some priorities versus preferences mapped out, and some potential no-go or possible solutions, like I said, write it down, put it into a defined scope, a piece of paper that lists out, this is what I want, this is what I need, this project to meet this goal. These are some things that won't work. It's just something, clearly written, really clear that you can hand to the builder and say, okay, this is our end project or our end goal for the project. Can we do it? So that's step one. Step two is you have to determine the budget. And this is the tough one, but you have to take this step. It doesn't have anything to do with talking to builders or designers. It has everything to do with evaluating your current family circumstances, looking at long-term goals, just making sure that you have the means to do a project right now, and figuring out what you're comfortable spending before you ever start picking up the phone and calling people to join the team and to get the job done. So this is a big step. The first thing you can do is just start looking at available funding sources. Maybe you've got home equity that you can pull out with a HELOC. Maybe you've got savings that you've just been holding for a rainy day, and now's that rainy day and you need that extra space and there's no way to get through the next year without it. Maybe there's a construction loan available for you that can be based on the value of the remodel after you do it. So maybe your parents have some, home equity built up that they don't mind lending to you or sharing to you, or, if you're building an in-law suite for them to come comfortably stay with you, or, a separate ADU in the backyard, maybe they're willing to contribute some funds to make that happen if that space is for them. So you just make a list, look through everything that may be available to you, and then start talking to lenders. This is a big one that makes it real. So just start reaching out. If you have some existing banking relationships, maybe reach out to them, and just start asking around, asking about the different funding options. Just see what's available. Start talking to real estate agents to see what the value or the equity in your home could be. Just really do some legwork and some homework to see what might actually be available realistically to you to get the job done. And then again, just do a gut check. Take a look at, where things are right now. Are you comfortable financially where, you can put some money or some funds toward a remodel project and, improve your quality of life? Or, do you have a trip to Disney planned at Christmas this year and you really don't want to spend the funds to, you promise that to the kids and you want that to get done and you don't want to take anything away from that. So maybe the remodel needs to happen next year. So there's no right or wrong answer. Even if right now isn't the exact perfect time to do it, maybe there's some, smaller solutions you can make in the meantime. Just a remodel or something cosmetic, something to make it a little bit nicer. Maybe you've got room to add a second sink. So at least, all the kiddos can brush their teeth at the same time. There may be something smaller that you can do in the meantime until you're ready to take the big remodel steps. But it's just really helpful to define it ahead of time. So you're not going into this thinking that, you're going to do this great big grand remodel and then find out halfway through the process that the funds aren't there to allow it, or that you're just not comfortable spending what it's going to cost to really get the work done. So we've got step one, define the scope. Step two, determine the budget. And step three is map your timeline. So there's something about putting a deadline on stuff that really makes it real and starts, getting the wheels in motion. So, we've talked about before the stages of the remodel process, start to finish, the whole process looks like, your pre-planning, which is part of this, determining the scope and budget. You've got the interviewing and the selecting the team, which can take some time. The actual design process of getting these plans on paper and figuring out what it needs to look like. The preliminary construction budgeting, where you're interviewing builders if you haven't already, or, getting in touch with the builder that you chose to look at the plans and put a construction estimate together. You've got final plans, which could be just closing out the plans you've already put together, those preliminary design plans, or you may need an engineer. So this would take, some time for the engineer to finish their work. the actual building permit process if you need them, which takes a little while, and then the actual construction process. So planning, it's define the scope and the budget. It really, you can do it in a weekend if you're, sitting down and you're serious about it. It can take a couple of weeks to start, finding lenders and interviewing them and, figuring out what financing options are available to you. It can take anywhere from, 2 weeks to a month if you're having a hard time getting in front of lenders, or if you have to, interview multiple lenders to get the information you need. Or if life gets in the way and it just takes a little bit longer to really figure out what those pain points are and evaluate some potential solutions. So interviewing and selecting the team, if you have referrals available to you from friends that have gone through it recently or family, it could take just a couple of weeks to get in touch with your preferred professionals and, do a consultation and get a proposal back. It could take a month or longer if it's just, you're interviewing multiple, or if you have a hard time getting them to send proposals back. Builders and designers get busy too. So there's a chance that you just call and wait for a call back, or you do the consultation and unfortunately it happens where they just never send you a proposal after. So just factor that into the timeline you have set aside for interviewing and selecting your team. So anywhere from 2 weeks to a month if you're, really on top of it and trying to get it done. And the actual design process, this is, preliminary design where you're getting enough detail on paper where you can get a construction estimate put together. So this one, Candid, it takes us anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks from the day we say go and get our measurements. This really depends on your designer though. So if you're just using a drafter and you've already sketched out, what you need for a smaller remodel, it may just take, 2 or 3 weeks for them to really put your design onto a piece of paper that you can send into the office. If you're designing a full remodel, basement conversion with, code review necessary, it could take, like I said, anywhere, 6 to 8 weeks. If it's a really large scale addition, full home remodel, something larger than that, it could be 8 to 12 weeks. And then typically if you're working with an architect, that process, some of them can go pretty quickly, but I've heard, from homeowners that process can take quite a bit of time. So, anywhere from 3 months to 6 or 8 months or more, depending on the scale of the remodel and the amount of detail needed to for them to get it done. So design anywhere from, I'd say, 4 weeks to 12 weeks is probably going to be average. The construction estimating process, this one's tricky. If you are working with a designer that offers in-house estimating just to get that ballpark put together for you, it may only take a couple of weeks. If you are using this time to interview contractors and, try to locate somebody to work with and you're getting multiple bids, it can take quite some time, anywhere from, 4 weeks if you're just talking to one of them to, maybe 3 months or 6 months if they're really busy, or if you're interviewing multiple and they're going, really, really deep into figuring out exactly the details and just every piece of the project that needs a price on it. One way you can try to speed that up is to just let them know that, you just need a very rough ballpark at this stage before final plans are complete. So yeah, that one I would say, average to be safe 4 to 8 weeks for that preliminary construction estimating. Then final plans is usually going to be where, budget comes back okay, so you're wrapping up your drawings and you're getting engineering on board. Could be anywhere from 2 weeks if you don't need an engineer to 6 weeks if you do. So 2 to 6 weeks would be average. I'd say probably 4 weeks standard to account for it. And building permitting process, you just need trade permits for a smaller remodel, then those are over the counter. You can usually get them the same day from your trade subcontractors. And if you're doing full building permits, if it's, middle of the winter and the permit office doesn't have a lot going on, it may only be a couple of weeks where you start getting feedback from them. If it's the height of spring and summer and they're super busy and everybody's trying to get permits at the same time, it could take anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks or longer. So I'd say probably to be safe for the permitting stage, account for maybe 4 to 8 weeks. And then actual construction just really depends on the scale of your project. If it's a small, minor powder bathroom remodel, it might be, a couple of weeks. If it's a typical kind of medium to large scale, remodel project addition, that sort of thing, then it may be anywhere from, 8 to 16 weeks. And that one will be a good question for your builder once you start doing interviews. They can usually kind of give you a really rough estimate on what that might take to get the job done. So the whole process, you can see everywhere from planning through to final construction, could be anywhere from 6 months to 2 years or more, depending on, scale of the project and how quickly you can move the project through its phases, how actively you're managing the process and keeping people on track and your designer and your builder on task. But just like the budget, this is one, the timeline is something that you can define for yourself. As long as it's realistic and you've kind of used those guidelines we talked about, you can usually define your target, start construction date, and then find the team to get it done. But again, if you don't have any idea, how long you want it to take or when you want to start construction, if you haven't done the pre-planning steps, then it's hard to go into an interview and get on the same page with your team to find the ones that are able to work quickly enough to meet that timeline that you have expected. So that's it. So once you've defined the scope, outlined the budget, and put a deadline on it, all you have to do is hire the team, and they're usually on top of making it happen. So whether you talk to the builder first or the designer first, they'll usually get the wheels in motion, because for them they do this every day, and it's something they're once they have that scope in mind, and they know what you want to accomplish, they can usually start those wheels rolling and kind of lead you toward next steps and really getting things moving. So like I said, it's simple, it's not easy. It sounds easy that you just have to think through a weekend in your house and where those pain points are, and then write down what you want to accomplish, and then okay, this is how much I have in savings, this is what I'm comfortable spending, and then use our guidelines for putting your timeline together to estimate start of construction. But really, like everything else, life gets in the way. It's hard to really sit down and really focus on getting these steps completed and doing them well enough to be able to take it to a team and start making those calls to hire your people. It can be tough, but really it's just a matter of deciding that now is the time to figure out when the time is, even if, like I said, it ends up where you're not ready to spend the money that it's going to take to get it done. Then maybe you have a start date of next spring, and so you just start getting ducks in a row slowly now and start saving. So it's never too early to start thinking, even if it's the time is not right now. But we do see a lot of times that it's really challenging for homeowners that haven't started thinking about it ahead of time. And so they call us without having, really defined the scope or figured out how much money they're willing to spend on it. And then, say it's March and they want to start construction in June. Well, now our process gets a lot longer, because we have to help you figure out exactly what those solutions could be, or, evaluate all the potential ideas to make it happen, even if some of them may not work for your family. So the more kind of legwork you can do ahead of time, the more likely it is that you can really get this, project in motion and get your team on board to getting it done. So perfect. So if you need a little more help, we have a totally free workbook that I put together. It's got more details on each of these 3 steps, and there's a little mini email challenge to help you get the job done and get those steps taken. A little bit of help overcoming the roadblocks that tend to slow people down during this pre-planning process. But head over to remodellaunchkit.com, and it's there for download. Like I said, totally free, always will be. If you need extra help after going through the launch kit, we have a full remodel planner available, tons and tons of detail on exactly how to define that scope in a way that your team can understand and can put numbers to. Talks about how to really put together a preliminary construction estimate for yourself based on your scope and your square footage, and without ever having to talk to a builder. It's really helpful at the budgeting stage. Just lots more info and details on every step of the process. And you can get that at candidhomedesign.com/shop. It's called our remodel planner. So there it is. So 3 simple steps to getting your project off the ground and actually turning that daydream into a reality. So simple, it's not easy, but as long as you're willing to take those steps, it's super simple to actually get those wheels in motion. So I know you can do it. I'm super excited to see what you can do. Thank you for listening. And again, I'm Kimber at Candid.